How to lose belly fat in 1 week. I've been able to lose my belly fat multiple times over the last decade. I've gone through multiple bulking phases where I've gained muscle and fat tissue as a consequence, and have been able to go all the way back down to single-digit body fat. In that process of repeating that process, I've been able to build muscle and lose fat, and I've even become a men's physique champion in the process. Naturally, as a person, I love eating. I love the burgers, I love the pizzas, and it's easy for me to gain belly fat. And I know the exact science to be able to lose all of it. To give you context, I am a scientist at first. I graduated at a top 200 school majoring in biochemistry and microbiology, which allows me to understand each and every single process at the molecular level. There are scientific reactions happening as a result, and I'm also a medical doctor, and allows me to understand the physiology of the body and the consequences, the causes and effects. That's how I've been able to manipulate my own body, but not only mine, the thousands of clients I've been able to coach over the last decade to achieve a similar, if not an even better transformation. And I can guarantee that if you watch this video to the very end, you will be able to know all the secrets, everything that I know, and how you can lose all of your belly fat for yourself in 1 week. You won't be able to lose all of it in 1 week, but repeating this process week in and week out will allow you to maximize the amount of belly fat that you can lose within that time period. And all you need to do is then repeat the process over and over again, and we're going to show you the easiest way. How? Without further ado, let's not waste time. Let me explain the science behind it so we can get into step 1 that will allow you to manipulate all the variables. Step number 1, you need to be in a caloric deficit. And I'm going to show you and represent that to you so that you have this deep understanding of a caloric deficit. And what that will do is it will allow you to manipulate all the variables that I'm about to show you in this video the same way I have, and that I can do for all of my clients. So let's start with this cup here. Let this cup represent your body, and let the hole in the cup represent all the energy you need to fill your body up with so that it can do its day-to-day tasks. Breathing, your heart beating, walking, thinking, sleeping, all of those things require energy. Energy, in the cases of our body, is represented as calories. So each and every single day, this cup has to be filled up to the brim so that it can do its day-to-day functions. Even my movement right now is calories, that's energy. So let me show you exactly how a caloric deficit works. So each and every single day, you eat and you fill up your body with all the energy that it needs to complete its daily tasks. And you hit it right until the brim, and this is what we call a caloric maintenance. Each and every single day, the cup will empty after you go to bed, and you fill that back up with all the food that you eat. And if you notice, and you're standing on the weight scale and your body is maintaining at the exact same weight, that means you're at a caloric maintenance. You're at equilibrium. The amount of calories you're eating is directly equal to the amount of calories that you're burning. This is where the problem comes in. When you overeat, when you eat more energy, the energy will overflow. And that happens every day. Let's say you had a burger that day, the next day you had a frappuccino, amongst all the other foods you were eating. Let's say you ate more rice, you started to scoop a little bit more rice at Christmas, and you do this for a month, you do this for 2 months. And if this water here that's overflowing is represented by the fat tissue, it ends up adding on. Right? And that will add on to your love handles, it will add on to your belly fat, it will add on to your chest, and then over a point your body fat percentage will increase if you keep on overeating. So 1 day isn't going to make much difference, right? Maybe it will be this little spoon here. But imagine 100 of these spoons after 100 days of overeating. So essentially, for you to lose weight, all you need to be is in a caloric deficit, not just for 1 day, but consistently over a larger period of time. And let me show you what that looks like in this cup. So remember that I said this has to be filled to the brim. However, all the food you eat doesn't result in filling up that cup. Your body still needs to fill to the brim so that it can carry out its day-to-day tasks. And as you can see, this is fat. And this here is all the stored energy, which is exactly what fat was meant to be. It is just stored energy. So what happens is your body will compensate for the lack of energy, and you want it to compensate from the fat. So what it will do is it will fill it all up just to the brim. And as time passes, you will see that this cup will empty because your body will keep on compensating for the lack of energy because of the caloric deficit that you create. So all you need to do is make sure that you're doing one of three things. Option number one is that you burn more calories than you consume. And as you can see, it will burn off all that fat over time. Option number two is that you can eat less calories than what you're burning through a caloric deficit. And then option number three is actually to do both. And I'm gonna show you in this video exactly what you need to do to achieve both, because number one, it's the easiest way to do it, and it's something that you can do consistently over time. Let me show you how to do that. Resistance training is paramount. Why I was able to improve on my transformations each and every single year was because I was resistance training consistently. Every time I added 1 to 2 pounds, even 5 pounds of muscle mass, I was able to eat more calories whenever I had to get into a caloric deficit. Not only that, but because I was burning so many calories because the more muscle I had, it allowed me to have my six-pack at an even higher body fat percentage. And this is why a lot of people have that skinny fat look. It's because they don't have enough muscle mass to support the physique that they have. I highly recommend resistance training. Not only is it amazing for your physique, but it's an amazing tool to utilize for your own mental well-being, for your self-confidence. It is incredible. So the things I want you to focus on with resistance training is you want to at least go to a minimum of 3 sessions to a maximum of 6. Whichever you do, it doesn't matter as long as you're doing that consistently. I've had people get amazing results at 3 sessions and amazing results at 6, but make a decision on what's realistic for you. The second thing that I want you to focus on with resistance training is doing it with good form. Why? If you're in the gym and you're doing a bench press, but you're doing it with bad form, you're probably going to get a 50% return on targeting the particular muscles you wanted in that exercise, and also at the same time, you're also putting a high risk of injury. So throughout the year, the likelihood that you stay out of the gym is so much higher. However, if you're practicing with good form, you're able to take that weight and really translate it into the target muscle. I would have gotten my results so much quicker if I was already practicing good form. The third thing, you want to train with good intensity. And when I mean good intensity, I mean that between sets, if you're not working a compound exercise, you usually want to take 60 seconds break between each set. With a compound exercise, the bench, deadlift, overhead press, and the squat, we want to take 2 minutes break between each exercise. And then you also want to train with at least having 2 reps left in the tank on every set. In bodybuilding, we call that an RPE, a rated perceived exertion of 8, or you can also think of it as an RIR, reps in reserve of 2. So you want to always feel with every set that you have 2 reps left in reserve. And following a structured training program will make sure that you're distributing your volume accordingly and that you're at least training each and every single muscle group twice in the week, and every training program usually should have about 21 sets. But I have left you an entire training program in the description of this video. So resistance train consistently. If you need to, have a training partner to go with you that is also as dedicated as you. Don't get any of these lazy guys because they're just going to demotivate you. Find someone who's bigger than you and just ask them, hey, will you train me? Can I train with you? And just make sure you're a good spotter. That's how I started in the beginning. But let's move on into the next tip. And after training, the second one that affects us the most in terms of our calories out, our caloric expenditure, is walking. This simply is the best cardio that you can focus on. And this is all I want you to focus on. And this is exactly what I tell people that work with me. All you want to do and start off with is hit 8,000 daily steps. And this will allow you to make it easier because 8,000 daily steps is easy, it's repeatable, and it's enjoyable. So if I had to say somebody had to run every day versus someone who had to walk every day, it's very likely that you'd be able to walk every day, 365 days. And all you need to do is do 8,000 steps. After about a week or after time, if you want to be able to lose more weight and to create a deeper caloric deficit, you can move from 8,000 to 9,000 steps, from 9,000 steps to 10,000 steps, and I would switch that about every 2 weeks. And usually you can go up to as high as even 15,000 steps. And the more steps you get, the more calories you burn and the more weight you can lose. So if you want a way to speed up your weight loss, what you can do is be in a caloric deficit and then also walk more steps. So go from 8,000 to 10,000 and you'll be burning more calories, and that will allow you to go from just losing 1 pound through the diet to losing an extra half a pound through the walking. If you want to lose an extra pound in total just through walking, you can go from that 8,000 to 12,000 daily steps. And that's the way you're able to burn more calories and also create a deeper caloric deficit. But let me show you how we maintain all of this coming together. So, how to calculate a caloric deficit. Why this step is so important. I love using this analogy. If you don't know how many calories you're eating, and specifically how many carbs, fats, and proteins, it's the equivalent of getting in a plane and not knowing how much fuel you have in that plane. Imagine you take off, like what's gonna happen to that plane? In short answer, you're never gonna reach your destination. The same applies if you're driving your Tesla and you don't charge it enough. You'll maybe get far enough, but you'll never reach your destination because you never calculated and knew exactly how much energy you have in that plane or in that car. And you cannot cheat the science. The science will always remain that way. So let's follow the science and get the result that we need. So I'm going to be utilizing the data from a client of mine by the name of Gary. I'm showing you how his physique started and how we calculated this. Now you may be severely under eating, you may be severely overeating, but we're going to figure out exactly where you need to be according to the following data. Again, you need to calculate this first and figure out your caloric deficit. This is the theory, and then after this step I'm going to show you how to put the theory into practice and what you need to do, how to build your plan following this data, and how to execute that plan. So watch till the very end, because each and every single step of this video you cannot cheat. And if you do know the things I'm about to share with you, there may be a few little tactics that I'm using that you don't know, and that's what's preventing you from being able to lose your belly fat. So the information we're going to need is your gender, your age, your weight, your height, and also your training frequency. How many times are you going to train? And we're all going to take that information and plug it into a formula. It's called the Mifflin-Singer formula. It's the most sophisticated formula we have to figure out how many calories we are burning to maintain our weight, right? And all that data allows me to plug that into a formula. It's the same formula we use in MyFitnessPal, and all the websites you've ever utilized to calculate utilizes this exact same formula, but what's important is putting it into practice so that we get the right answer. So I'm going to show you 3 different calculators and how they give similar results. Here I have one from sculptbyscience.com, and I know we use Mifflin-Singer formula. We'll also use AI, right? And then finally, we're going to use another popular website, calculator.net. So I'm going to open all of these websites and I'll let them load. I'll open the AI, right, by ChatGPT, and then I'm also going to open calculator.net. With that, as you can see, we have Gary's information here. He's 45 years old. He's 196.7 pounds. That's 89.2 kgs. He's 5'11 in height. That's 180 centimeters, and he's going to train 5 times a week. With that being said, I have a little cheat sheet here. And you'll see that someone who trains 5 times a week at max, I consider moderately active. When you're training 6 times and more, you're very active, and we're gonna be able to figure that out, and we're gonna utilize that formula later. Cool. So as we use Sculpt by Science website, you'll just plug this into the formula. And I'm also going to show you the next easiest way to do. So we're going to calculate Gary's. He's 45 years old. He is a male. And as you can see, as I'm inputting this info, you can see what your basal metabolic rate is, right? And then we're going to put in his height, right? He's 5'11", and in centimeters, because that's what it's asking, he's 180 centimeters. So you see the formula is now being inputted, and his weight was exactly 196.7, which is 89.2 kgs, and we're going to put that info here, 89.2 kgs, right? And 180 centimeters. And you can see now we need to factor in his activity. So all this info allows me to calculate what their basal metabolic rate is. This info allows me to calculate how much their body on its own, if it was just in a vacuum and he was laying all day, from breathing, thinking, his heart beating, lungs breathing, all of that. Now we need to factor in all the movement that they're doing, the training, all of that. And we're going to consider this person to be active according to my formula, and we don't have their age here at 45. And according to my calculator at sculptbyscience.com, that gives us maintenance calories of 2,785. Let's use macro calculator or calculator.net. We're going to use the US metrics just so we can use it and input the same numbers. So 45 years old, he's 5'11", 196.7, and moderately active, right? Remember, actually, I'm going to consider them active, right? And then we're just going to put maintain weight, and I'm going to calculate, right? and you can see 2789. And let's use one more calculator. Let's use actually what AI says. And I'm basically going to input this info. And I'm going to tell the AI, calculate maintenance calories. And then I'm just going to paste Gary's information, right? And the AI is going to calculate everything, and I'm going to show you guys. Okay, here we go. So AI used the same logic that I did, and you can see they used the Mifflin-Singer formula, and they showed you how they input that formula, and you can see that they considered them moderately active. They figured out their BMR and an activity factor of 1.55. And they came out also to 2,785 calories, the exact same, right? Using macro calculator, and using AI. That is how many calories essentially to fill up the cup that the person needs to eat. Now, we know this is 5 pounds of fat, but let's imagine that this is 1 pound of fat. If we burn this to have this fat disappear, 1 pound, let's assume this is 1 pound, that is equivalent to 3,500 calories. Now, if you want to lose a pound a week, you need to burn in the whole week 3,500 calories. And that's where people come up with you need to be in a daily 500 caloric deficit, 3,500 divided by 7. So to figure out what your caloric deficit is to lose a pound of weight, you need to subtract your maintenance calories by 500. And that's how we don't fill up that entire cup, so that your body can compensate with the fat to fill up that cup. I want to lose, I'm going to ask the AI, 1 pound of fat per week. What are my calories to lose that 1 pound per week, right? So the AI is going to tell us, and I know that the number will be 2785 minus 500 calories, which is going to take us to 2,285 calories, right? So it's telling us that, and to lose 1 pound per week, you need to be in 2,285. Now that is exactly how many calories you need to eat each and every single day so that you can lose 1 pound of fat a week. And I'm going to show you later in the video how you can move that 1 pound of fat per week to 2 pounds, and how we make sure that you're losing just fat and maintaining all the muscle mass you have, if not also to maintain and build muscle, right? So now we understand that you need to eat 2,285 calories. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to put maintenance to be 2,785, right? That's what we calculated according to AI, according to all the different calculators. And deficit will be 2,785 minus 500, which equals 2,285. Now, for the sake of the video, I personally like to just round it off to make it very, very simple. And you'll notice that I round off a lot because, again, all of these things here are in theory and we need to put it into practice, right? So little rounding off here and there won't make a difference. Now, these calories, if I eat 2,300 daily, if Gary eats 2,300 daily, he will lose a pound per week. But to make sure that Gary's losing a pound of fat and not a pound of muscle per week, we need to make sure that it's only coming from fat. And essentially, this is what I want also everyone to take into consideration. A ketogenic diet, a vegetarian diet, paleo diet, a juice diet, all takes this into consideration. It's exactly the same thing. Every single diet that is focused on weight loss factors this in. There's nothing special about them, except for what suits more so your lifestyle. And we'll talk about that in the next step. But now we need to make sure that we're only going to lose fat and we're going to maintain, if not build muscle. So what we need to do is figure out our macros, right? We need to figure out how much protein, carbohydrates, and fats we need to eat. And the first thing I like to calculate is protein, because protein is the building block to muscle, right? And think of protein as the layer of cement that we get to add on the muscle. And the more protein you have in your system, the more muscle you will maintain, because you're giving your body enough to maintain this muscle that you're not burning this. And another thing that protein's amazing at is that it can boost your metabolism because it takes more energy for your body to break down. It's also amazing because protein is very satiating. You've never heard someone get fat off of just eating chicken breast because it's very satiating. It takes your body a lot to break it down. Think about it. Even when you're chewing chicken breast, how long does that take compared to chewing rice or chewing bread, right? So let's figure out protein, right? Now, again, the easiest way is to just give yourself 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And you're gonna see online, hey, should it be more? It should be less. 1 gram of protein is too much. The reality is that 1 gram is an easy number because unless you have any pre-existing kidney conditions or liver issues, there's no negative side effect to eating more protein. It will actually help eating more protein. So that's why I like 1 gram. Personally, with people I like working with, I'll usually give them more than 1 gram because it's gonna keep them fuller, it's satiating, it's gonna help them burn more calories because their body takes more energy to break that protein down, and also it gives their body a better chance at maintaining, if not even building, muscle mass as they're working with me, right? So for Gary's sake, he's 196.7 pounds. I am just going to give him 200 grams of protein, right? Instead of giving him 196.7, 1 gram per pound, I'm just gonna round that off. That's from my experience. It won't make a difference. So it's slightly higher, so about 1.05. But if you want another way, you can also give someone 1 gram of protein per centimeter of height. So he's 180 centimeters, so you can give him 180. That takes you to like 0.95 grams or 0.9 grams of protein per pound. I just like going to their body weight, giving them 1 gram per pound. That is the easiest, that is the best way. And you will see success if you just do it this way. When I calculate for my clients, I take a few more things into consideration. I look at their photos, and if they're at like 40% body fat, maybe they don't need as much protein, but I will maybe use a multitude of different formulas, but essentially it gives out the same output. Then the next thing, and I'm going to calculate this here, and you're going to need this cheat sheet so you can understand what I'm doing here. The first thing, we've figured out the protein. Let's figure out how much calories is in there, right? So we know 1 gram of protein is 4 calories. So the total calories that's taken up from your protein is going to be 200 multiplied by 4, which is going to give us 800 calories, right? So I'm just going to put that here. The next thing I like figuring out is how much fat should you eat. Now, when I am doing a diet, I like to limit fats because essentially what fat is important for is so that it's providing your body enough of the building blocks to maintain hormonal regulation, right? Because when you break fat down into its minor particles, it will give you cholesterol. Cholesterol is the building block for all hormones, right? Testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, etc. So we want to make sure that you're more so towards the lower end of exactly what you need. And that would be at 20%. I don't go less than 20%. You can go as high as 35%, or you can even pick 25. And how I will determine someone's fat that I give them will depend on the type of diet that they usually enjoy. If I hear that they love eggs and they love bacon and they love steaks, I'll usually go to the 25%, maybe even 30. But if I hear that that's not their favorite foods, maybe I'll be at the 20% because that person might like more carbohydrate filled meals. But again, these are the minute details that you'll get to know from your own experience. But at the very limit, I do 20% of total calories. So with that being said, what we need to do is just figure out what 20% is of 2300. Okay, so let's figure this out. 2300, so 2300 multiplied by 0.2, which is 20%, and that is going to give us 460 calories, right? And using this cheat sheet, we know 1 gram of fat is equal to 9 calories. So to figure out how many grams of fat that is, I'm going to divide that by 9, and that's going to give us 51.111 grams of fat. But to make it easy, I'm just going to use 51, right? I'm just going to leave it there. I'm going to round it off to 51. So fats, I'm going to leave at 51, right? And so just so we know how many calories that is, we'll multiply 51 multiplied by 9. That's going to give us 459, right? Calories. Now, carbohydrates. This is the biggest mistake I see most people make. Carbohydrates, in my personal opinion, are the next most important calories that you're eating. Why? It's gonna give you the energy you need to perform your daily tasks. What I've seen with my clients, the more carbs I give them, the more energy they're burning throughout the day. As a result, the more energy they're burning in their workouts because they can lift heavier, they can run quicker, and they feel better. The body's main energy source source is always going to be carbohydrates. So we don't want to cut those off completely. And this is also another thing that I love giving more carbohydrates, is because it will allow to fit in your day-to-day diet. When it's your birthday, you can have a cake and not worry about it. If it's Christmas, if it's New Year's, you can have all those foods and it allows to fit into your lifestyle, compared to something like a ketogenic diet where the carbohydrates are very little. You need to cut out an entire food group in 365 days. How likely is it that you can do that? But let's figure out how many carbohydrates. So all we need to do is figure out how many calories we have left, and then figure out, okay, all of that goes to carbohydrates. So we have 2,300. We're gonna minus the protein, right? And we're gonna minus the fats, all right? The calories from that. So that leaves us with 1,041 calories. And that's all your calories that's going to carbohydrates. And utilizing this cheat sheet here, we have 1 gram of carb is equal to 4 calories. So all we need to do is divide it by 4. So divide it by 4. And that's going to give us our carbs. So we can eat 260 grams of carbs, right? 260. And I'm going to put in brackets here, just for math's sake, 10, 4, 1. 10, 4, 1. So if you follow these macros, and Gary did, and this is the amazing transformation Gary achieved, you're going to be able to maintain, if not build, muscle mass, because you're eating enough protein, and more than enough protein. You're eating a lot of carbs, which allows you to lift more weights, stimulate and hypertrophy the muscle, and you're just eating enough fat to produce enough testosterone to have balanced hormonal regulation. Now we understand how many calories we need to eat. So you do the exact same. And a quick recap: figure out what your maintenance calories are, figure out your basal metabolic rate, multiply that by this activity factor here, right? And here it's very easy to follow. If you're training 1 to 3 times a week, you are considered lightly active. If you're training 3 to 5, you're considered moderate. And if you're doing 6 to 7 sessions, you're very active. And the only person I ever consider extremely active is someone who's training 6 to 7 times a week, and you're working as a waitress, you're working as a construction worker. Your job requires you to be very active. You're moving around, you're doing a very active job. So, but in general, people are always between lightly active and moderately active. You decide, depending on how many times you want to train, where you fall. Now we have these macros. It's time to put it into practice. I'm going to show you now how I build a meal plan and how I execute that meal plan in the next step, so that it is easy for you to do week in and week out. Let me catch you in the kitchen. What I've done here is I've laid out all the foods that I have here in my kitchen, and I'm going to show you exactly my thought process and how I go about building a custom meal plan and how to go about it. So you're going to need 2 main things. Number 1 is a food scale. This is so you can ensure that the amounts of the foods are exactly what's going into your body. You don't want to just go by eyeball, because that's where you make the mistake. You want to be exact, you want to be precise. Being exact here will save you hours. The second thing you want to utilize is this beautiful app called MyFitnessPal. Now some people say, Mike, I hate MyFitnessPal. But again, believe me, if you don't do this, you'll end up doing an hour of cardio, an hour and a half, or even just 30 minutes, and it's a waste of time because you won't see results because you're not getting it right here. So these 2 things will save you hours. So you'll go into MyFitnessPal. You can use the free version, but I highly recommend the paid, and I'm not sponsored at all, but the paid version has its perks. Now, the first thing we want to do, right? What this MyFitnessPal will do is it likes tracking already how many steps you did, and it ends up adding more calories than what it's supposed to. And if you remember, when we calculate our macros, I already factored in your activity. So you're first gonna go to more, you're gonna go to steps, and you see here, use your device built-in motion processor. And what happens is, if you calculated your calories to be 2,500, it's gonna end up adding 200 more calories at the end of the day, and you will end up ruining or spoiling your diet. So what I want you to do is go to do not track steps, right? Just click that and then hitting back. Awesome. So the next thing we want to do is go to goals. We want to hit the calorie, carbs, protein, and fats function. And then you want to hit on the carbs, protein, and fats. Now you have the option of tracking it in grams and tracking it in percentage. Now tracking it in grams will give you the most accurate reading. As you remember, my macros from what we calculated came out to 280 carb. So I'm going to set it to 280, 200 grams of protein. So I'm going to set that to 200, and then 53 grams of fat. And I can't put the 0.3, so just understand it's 2,397, no problem. Now, if you're on percentages, you'll see that it doesn't give you the exact amount that you calculated, but you just want to get as close as possible. So you can adjust your protein intake to being what it needs to be, etc. But you guys see the point, and I'll get back to that later and just show you guys. But for now, I'm gonna put a 280 carb, I'm gonna go to 200 grams of protein, right? And then I'm gonna go to 53 grams of fat. And we're gonna go to 53. Beautiful. Now that's done, and you'll see now it's updated, and now my macros are set and we're good to go. So the big question, Dr. Mike, how do I build my plan? And you can take it a number of ways. You can decide you're gonna have 3 meals in a day, 4 meals in a day. Usually with my clients, I like giving them 4 meals. It gives them 4 opportunities to spike muscle protein synthesis. And mind you, you can still do 4 meals a day with intermittent fasting. You just have to divide it into 2-hour meal portions, right? I eat in an 8-hour window period. So if I eat at 2 p.m., I'm eating 2, 4, 6, 8. Those are the times I'm eating. If you're doing it in three meals, then you divide your 8 hours by 3, and you're looking at eating every 3 hours to 2.5 hours. But without further ado, so you can see that MyFitnessPal beautifully lays it out for you in breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. So let's start with breakfast. And what I've done here, just to give you guys my thought process, I've grouped in all my proteins. This is a carb, so this should go here. I've grouped all my proteins. Here we have a steak. Here we have lean ground beef. Here we have chicken breast. Here we have protein bars, and we have a classic whey protein. In this section here, I've grouped in my carbohydrate sources. We have some tortilla wraps. We have some bagels. We have oats, which is predominantly carbohydrates. We have some pita bread, mixed veg. We have cucumbers. We have some Japanese potatoes. And then right here, we have the section with all our fats, right? So you'll see these foods are very high in fat, and we need to hit our macros accurately. So let's get started. Let's start off with our breakfast. A very classic breakfast, right? If you think about it, we like eggs for breakfast, we like oatmeal, we like cereals for breakfast, so you can have a various combination. But I'm gonna do an easy breakfast. Something that my clients absolutely love is a protein oats. And the idea that I try and have, right? I'm gonna have 4 meals. What I'll try and do is I'm gonna try and have 50 grams of protein in each meal. And that way I hit my protein. So with the protein oats, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start off here, right? I'm gonna have a whey protein. So I'm gonna click on add food, scan barcode, right? And here we have the whey protein. So the beautiful thing is you can just go here to the barcode and it can find any barcode. And as you can see, the raspberry ripple cheesecake flavor oxywhey. And this is the beautiful thing, you just need a scan. And 1 serving of this is gonna give me 25 grams of protein. But you know what? I'm gonna have 2 servings so I can hit my 50 grams. So I'm gonna do 2, right? So 1 serving of this is 32.6 grams of protein. So you wanna scoop in 32.6. And I'm just gonna click the check mark, and now that is tracked. And now we're gonna go on to the oats, which is the carbohydrate source. And I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar with the brand Quaker. So let's see, right? I'm gonna scan one of these here, and I'm gonna click add food, and I'm gonna click scan barcode. As you can see, here's the Quaker, and look how easy it is. You just need to scan things. And 1 is 24 grams of carbs. Let's do 2 packets, right? That's gonna give me 50 grams of carbs. So that is it. And what else goes into making some oats? Some milk, right? So what I'm gonna do is scan my milk, and there you go. So usually with oats, you'll need about 150 milliliters. And what you're gonna do is this, guys. I'm gonna show you. So it shows your serving size, right? So don't mind the serving size. It's already per 100 milliliters. So for 150 milliliters, we need 1.5, just, you know, easy arithmetic. And boom, we have our breakfast done. And let me show you guys exactly how it is, right? And the macros come out to be 58.9 grams of carbs, 10 grams of fat, 62 grams of protein. We've already had our plan started. So that comes out to exactly 608 calories. Now let me show you guys something here. And this is why it's important we track. I'm gonna show you guys what a common mistake is, right? So per packet of these Quaker oats here, it is 140 calories. 140 calories is enough to keep you out of a caloric deficit, right? So here's 1 packet of oats. That's just 1. I'm just gonna do that. And in there, is about 30 grams, which if you read here, actually it's about 28 grams. And that's exactly what it says here. It's 28 grams. Now, I'm supposed to have 2 packets, right? So no problem, I'm gonna have 2 packets. So I'm gonna add the second packet. Now look at this, guys. So that is the 2 packets. That's 280 calories. Now, if you just go by eyeball, it's very easy to add in more than what you're supposed to. And I'm gonna add it in here. If you just shake this up, it's very hard to tell. But now you can see the difference of 140 calories just by adding a small little packet. That is equivalent to doing 30 minutes worth of walking, if I'm not mistaken, about 20 to 30 minutes worth of walking, right? And excuse me, but I'm gonna mix it here. I'm gonna mix it here. Now that you can't see that you can't even see that I added that in there. So what typically happens, because you don't weigh, it's so easy to overeat 100 calories in one meal. Do that 4 times and you've overeaten by 400 calories in each meal. Does that make sense? Because I added 1 packet, you can't tell the difference. So okay, you ate over 100 calories in meal 1. You ate over 100 calories in meal 2, meal 3, meal 4, you're over by 400 calories. That's it. You're out of a caloric deficit. That's why it's important to track. But the beautiful thing is, if you just track it once, you can just repeat it and do the same food every day. And I'll talk about that later. So that's that in here. With the whey protein, what you can do is put that here on tear. And remember, we wanted 2 scoops, right? And each one is 32.6. So we want 65.2. 65.2, right? So I'm gonna take in 1 scoop. 66. I'm gonna take that. And this is the beauty of tracking. I always say to people, the more detail you put into the kitchen, the more detail you're gonna see in your physique, because you're being very accurate, and when I make a change, it will matter. But that's how you track. After you've tracked this, then you wanna go and pour in 150 milliliters into this milk, and you will exactly know what you should eat. So the first time does take time. However, after that, you don't have to track again because you can eat the same food every day. So awesome. That is breakfast. We have now breakfast sorted. Now, we've figured out what we're having for breakfast. We're having a protein oat. So, I'll put this in the back. What about lunch? What are we gonna have for lunch? So, we can go a myriad of ways. We can do the classic chicken breast. We can have some rice, and we can have some mixed veg in there. We can have potatoes. We can have sweet potatoes with chicken breast. We can have lean ground beef and rice. There's a myriad of ways. What we can also do is like a pita taco. We can take lean ground beef with pita, so protein source and pita, for example. Maybe if you want to add some veggies in there, you can add some mixed veg in there. For the sake of this video, I'm gonna keep it very simple. What we can do, let's do with the chicken breast, right? So in some cases, let's say you go to a butchery and you see, I've been scanning barcodes, but this chicken breast doesn't have a barcode. And the truth is, with chicken breast, they're all the same. So MyFitnessPal has an option, right? For lunch, you can say search food, and I'm gonna say chicken breast, and I'm gonna search raw, right? So this is raw, this is uncooked. And you can see here, there's a myriad of options, and I typically will pick one and just be consistent with it. It doesn't matter. You see there's a lot of options here. Just pick any. As long as you're consistent with it, chicken breast is the same. As you see, per 100 grams, it's 110 calories, 105. Chicken is chicken everywhere. So I'm gonna click here, breast raw chicken. And as you can see, 100 grams is gonna give me 30 grams of protein. But I remember I told you guys I wanna have about 50 grams. So let's see what I do with 1.5, right? So 1.5. Obviously, if you guys are in the US, that's, will equate to 5 to 6 ounces, etc. So 1.5 will give me 46.5 grams of protein. I'll take it. So I'm gonna have 150 grams of chicken breast. So I'll click that. And then, as I mentioned, I'm gonna have some rice as well. Here's the rice, right? So we wanna do the rice. And the same with rice, you can just search the rice, but because this one, if it has a barcode, you can just scan it. So I'm gonna get add food, scan barcode, and voila. Right, so 100 grams of rice is gonna be 350 calories. And I wanna show you guys something. Let's see how much is 100 grams worth of, right? So you can change here the serving size. So I'm gonna go to 1 gram. So 30 grams of rice is 100 calories, as you guys are seeing. And 100 grams is 350. So I want I'm gonna just say I want 150 grams of rice. So that's 120 grams of carbs, which is a lot of rice. And to make it a bit more interesting, I'm gonna add here some mixed veggies into it, you know? So all I'm gonna do is add food, and then I'm gonna click scan barcode, and it'll make it easy. And I'm gonna have, let's say, another 150 grams, 1.5, right? And that's it, that's our lunch done. So for our lunch, the macros come out to be 135.1 grams of carb, 2.4 grams of fat, and 62.5 grams of protein. Now, another thing that I wanna add here is maybe you wanna make your meal a little bit more exciting. You just don't want chicken, mixed veg, and rice. Maybe you wanna make a stir fry, which means why not add like some eggs? Now you see in this case, eggs you can't scan. So what you can do here is we're gonna click here, add food, and I'm gonna picture that I'm gonna make a stir fry, and I'm gonna search egg large. And you can just search that, and here you have myriad of different, and you can see one large egg is between 70 calories, 80 calories. I'm just gonna pick the first one, and I'm gonna make 2 of them. And the reason I'm actually adding eggs is because we need some healthy fats as well, right? So I'm gonna add eggs, and I'm gonna make it 2, right? 2 servings, and that's gonna add into our fats. So let's see where our macros are at. 30 grams of fat and 63 grams of protein, 853 calories. Before I get to dinner, how about we talk about making a snack, right? So a common thing we love is a protein bar. These you can have, this fits in any diet. So I'm gonna have 1 protein bar. So I'm just gonna go to a snack, and I'm gonna have a protein bar. Why not, right? I'm gonna have a protein bar, and I'm gonna scan that, and it works. So a protein bar is 20 grams of carbs, 7 grams of fat, 20 protein. Lovely. You want a yogurt? How about that? Actually, I'm gonna add a yogurt as a snack, right? And the rest of my food, and you can see this yogurt is by Chobani Fit. It's 15 grams. So I'm gonna scan it. So it's 170 grams. That's really good macros, 100 calories per. That's amazing, right? So 7.7 grams of carbs, which is low, 0.3 grams of fat, 15.5 grams of protein. Awesome. Now I have my 2 snacks done. So let's figure out, I'm actually gonna have tacos for dinner. You know, that's what I wanna have for dinner. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go here to dinner, and I'm gonna add food, and I'm gonna take these Old El Paso tacos, and I'm gonna scan barcode, and let's see here. So 2 shells is 17 carbs. I have about 60 grams of carbs. So I'm gonna go for 4 shells, right? So it says 2, serving size is 2. So I'm gonna have 2 servings of 2 shells, which is 4 shells, right? And then I wanna have lean ground beef, and per packet it's 250 grams. Now, as you can see, there's nothing you can scan here, but I'm gonna just click on add food, and I'm gonna search lean ground beef. And I'm gonna say these are 95% lean. 95%. So I'm gonna search that, and you can see here it says 95% lean ground beef, and I'm gonna see what it is by 100 grams, and that's about right. So per 100 grams is 29 grams of protein, 7.6 grams of fat. And you see the point I want to also show you guys, this whole tracking thing is a puzzle, and once you figured out the puzzle, it's very easy to just build it again, because now you know, right? When you're a kid, you made the puzzle the first time was really hard, and then after that you could just do it with your eyes closed, because you knew what all the pieces looked like, and you knew what the finished product looked like. So for 4 shells, I'm probably gonna have about 200 grams of for 4 shells, I'm lying, let's see, 200 grams of protein. Yeah, 200 grams. And let me see what macros it comes up with. So here's something interesting. Now it's showing me that I've overeaten on my protein. So I'm at minus 34 grams of protein. I've overeaten fats, and I still have carbs left. So this is what I mean about being a puzzle. So it's not fitting so well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change my lean ground beef. Let's take it back to 100 grams. Let's say I'm gonna have 100 grams. Awesome. So that leaves me at minus 5 grams of protein, and that works actually, because you can be all over plus minus 10 grams for carbs and 10 grams for protein, and plus minus 5 grams for fats, right? So that's the leeway you want to give yourself. And now we can make our tacos. We have the lean ground beef, we have the taco shells, but honestly, I'm not gonna fit 100 grams of lean ground beef in 4 taco shells. So I'm gonna reduce that to 2. This is what I mean by this, like fitting your puzzle for the first time. Awesome. So now I'm left with 9 grams of fat, 41 grams of carbs. So what can I have instead? How about some fruits? And with every diet, guys, you want to have a serving of fruit, and you want to have a serving of vegetables, right? And she's absolutely right. Fruits Let me show you guys. So this is again where you're gonna need it. And here we have beautiful kiwis. Did you know kiwis is a superfood? I taught you something new. Here we go. So we're gonna go kiwis, and I'm gonna have one kiwis, 162 grams, but really who has one of something? So let's do two, right? And that comes out to 332 grams. So I'm gonna go to snacks, and I'm gonna add, and I'm gonna search kiwi. And I'm gonna click search, and I'm gonna pick the one that's verified. Now you see here, I'm gonna change one fruit. I'm just gonna change it to grams, because here I can tell exactly 332. So I'm gonna go 1 gram 332, and that gives me 46.5 grams of carbs, 1.5 fat, 3.5 grams of protein. And let's see how close we got. And we're over by 49 calories. Or actually we have 49 calories left. And in reality, is that a train wreck? No, that's actually fine. What we're missing here is about 5 grams of fat. And what you can do is, I'm actually gonna go, and in these taco shells, I'm gonna add some avocado, right? And I'm gonna add some avocado. And let's say I'm gonna have this whole avo. Now again, you have to cut it up. Usually I'll say I'll have 50 grams of avo, and I'll weigh it. So I'm just gonna search for avocados, let's say about 40 grams. Let's say I'm gonna have 40 grams of avo, which is usually about half an avo. And there we go. We are 17 calories over. And that's actually exactly where we wanna be. So the final macros comes out to 207 grams of protein, 289 grams of carbs, and 51 grams of fat. And we're over by carbs by 9 grams, we're over by protein by 7, and we're under fats by 2. And that gives us our total calories. Let's see if we can see nutrition. Our calories come out to be exactly 2,414. We're only over by 14 calories. And that's it. So a quick recap of our entire diet that I just tracked. We have for breakfast our protein oats. We have 2 servings, so 2 scoops of protein, 2 packets of Quaker oats, and 150 milliliters of eggs. We have 150 grams of chicken breast. We have some mixed veg as our source of vegetables, right? 150 grams. We have 2 large eggs, and we also have 150 grams of rice. Then for dinner, we're gonna have 2 taco shells. We're gonna have half an avocado, because we love avo in our tacos, and we're gonna have here 100 grams of 95% lean ground beef. And for snacks, we have 1 yogurt, 1 protein bar. Voila. And that's it. And finally, how to check if this is working or not working. I call this data collection. And it's very simple. Data collection is just that. It should not affect how you feel. It shouldn't affect your emotions. It should just tell you if what you're doing working or not working. And there's 3 ways to determine this. Number 1 is through photos. I want you to take 1 photo facing forward. It can be relaxed or can be flexed. 1 side photo and 1 back photo. And I want you to do this at the same day, at the same time, once a week, right? And then you can compare it on a week-to-week basis to get visual confirmation if your body's changing or not. Are you building muscle? Are you losing fat? Are you losing fat and muscle? Are you not seeing any difference? Ask someone else's opinion. Hey, do you see a difference? I like looking from the neck down and comparing side to side. Is there any changes? The second thing we want to do, every day, I want you to step on the weight scale and on a piece of paper, write down the number that you get on the scale after using the bathroom. So let's say you wake up at 7 a.m., you've used the number 1 or number 2, and then track your weight and do this every day for 7 days. Not just 1 day or 2 days, but 7 days will give you enough data points so that it can be reliable. And then I want you to compare the average of the 7 days of the first 7 days versus the second week. So week 1 versus week 2 versus week 3, and so on. And it doesn't matter what's happening on a day-to-day basis. What's important is the 7 days, because on a day-to-day, you may have not done number 2 times that day. You may have not drank enough water that day. You may have not gone for number 1 that day. You may have not sweated as much in the gym because the gym was really, really cold on that particular day. So don't let the day-to-day fluctuations really affect how you feel. Just look at what the average says over a week span, and if you're decreasing in weight and you want to lose weight, that's a good sign. It shows you that you're trending in the right direction. And then the final thing that I want you to track is your tape measurements. And do this every 2 weeks. I want you to trace your shoulders, right? I want you to then, after tracking your shoulders, right, I want you to check your chest size. After checking your chest size, I want you to check your bicep size. After biceps, we want to check waist. We then want to check glutes, and then we want to check our legs. And I want you to track it in the exact same point every 2 weeks. And after about 2 weeks, which will roughly tell you if you're caloric deficit and if you're losing belly fat or not, you will be able to tell if you're trending in the right direction. Because you may see that your bicep size stayed the same, but your waist size has decreased by 1 inch. That is a positive result. And if you see that your bicep size is staying the same, your waist has gone down, and the weight scale is going down, what's likely happening? And then you look at your photos and you're like, I can kind of tell a difference. And as the 2nd week, 3rd week, and 4th week comes by, you will know if you're doing the right thing or not. If you're not seeing any changes after about 7 to 10 days, then you want to A, slightly adjust your calories if you want to lose weight, or B, maybe you want to walk a little bit more, or C, you can do both. And you want to do this week in and week out. And this habit, everything I've shown you in this video, repeating this process on a daily basis, are going to be habits that allow you to be a newer version of yourself, the version that doesn't have any more belly fat. And this is very, very easy to implement. And once you get the hang of it, it almost becomes secondaries, but just give yourself enough time. I'll leave the video here. I hope it was helpful. This information has transformed not only my life, but thousands of people. Read into the comments of this video and you'll see how many people have done exactly what I've just said and seen results doing this. Your part now is you have all the information. You just need to do it, like Nike. But comment down below if you've seen success doing this yourself, and just comment so someone else can read it so they can see the results that you have. Leave the video the like just so it can be shared with more people so they can get this help. And subscribe if you're new. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.